Hello, friends. Host Eric here. Host talking to famous people. Is the light there? Yeah, it is going. Okay, good. I was concerned there for a second. It took 6 seconds for the first 6 seconds to show up. Anywho, tonight we're talking about what it means to be intuitive and what the word means in general. Because obviously, if we're going to be forthright, hello, LJ. If we're going to be forthright about reality of MBTI communities online, they're primarily, but not entirely, comprised of intuitives. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this topic is because I had a pay typing today. It is possible to hire me to type you if you want. It costs $100. It's about a 75-minute session. Sometimes it's a little longer than that. And this person was an ISTJ, and she was a dentist. Oh, the cat stepped on the...
No, honey, I'm Holmes.
I sent you a text.
No text.
Yeah, you shake your phone again, lady.
You want to check your send box.
You better check your phone.
Better check the mom's face.
The cat stepped on the airplane mode button.
Didn't see that.
Well,
I just checked it right now.
says delivered.
That's right.
So yeah,
Checked it before I came out and drilled you.
the cat stepped on the airplane mode button.
Hi,
So-
y'all. I'm in making spaghetti.
He's making spaghetti. So anyway, I typed this dentist today. This lady dentist. Her name was Renee. Correctly. And
Nobody can understand you.
chill out, lady. And she was very bright. An ISTJ with very good TI, which is certainly not out of the question because it's 6 slot, and appropriately diminished in scope a bit for TI in terms of its overall approach. Like I could tell that she was good at using it in a logic problem way, from a very TE approach to it as well. But obviously a very bright one. Came up with a solution that they catapult the food across in response to the troll question. Having her take the ordinals. Hi, Amber. Having her take the ordinals was interesting because when I asked the last ordinal question, it's the one where it says, which of these do you want help with? Would you gladly accept help with? And which of these would you not want help with? And her answers were like opposite of what I thought they would be. And so then I said to her, hey, let me ask this a different way. If you had to defer to your significant other, only one of you could attend to each of these jobs, and you had to say which ones you were going to not have any say in and which ones you were going to have all the say in. From a scale of 1 to 8 in that capacity, how would you rank it? And she basically flipped them around backwards and confirmed once again that she was an ISTJ, which revealed to me the problem with the question. I need to make it exclusive, as in you must defer entirely on some and take control of some of them entirely. Because otherwise, what you end up with is a situation where somebody who's got an implicit value of TE, or at least an instrumental value of TE, which is sort of contained within the ISTJ, is going to think, well, what's the most useful thing to receive help in? And then they'll just pick the most utility-based things to receive help in. You have to ask them in a way that makes it exclusive of each other. So that was revelatory today, but it was also indicative of how smart sensors can be and the fact that they don't need to be intuitive to be bright. She was clearly SI, everything, all of her talking to me was a bunch of particular stories about specific instances. And, there just wasn't a lot of evident NI of any sort. She was clearly polar FE and STJ, you know? Well, it's a good job for a dentist, it seems to me, because STJs, ISTJs in particular, are craftsmen. They're not artists usually, they're craftsmen. And that means mastering a certain set of skills that they get increasingly good at doing over time because it's the perfect combination of SITE. It's the same basic tasks. Redundant?
I mean, not redundant. Like the same task over and over again.
Repetitive. You mean repetitive?
Repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Repetitive.
Yeah. Right, LJ. Exactly. And then Doug Ovix asks, do you think ISTPs and INFJs are common mistypes? No. I suspect what is a common mistype, though, is what I heard from her today. She had typed herself as an ISTP, and a big part of the reason for that was she didn't think she was a judging type exactly, based on her understanding of judging types and perceiving types. Well, of course, ISTP is a judging type, and ISTJ is a perceiving type. Are they all touch you? ENFJ? Okay. Well, I told you weren't an ISTJ, Curtis. I talked to an ISTJ today, and believe me, you're not an ISTJ. So I think that's probably a fairly common problem. And somebody who is coming into it as an area of study, you know, she's like learning about it by watching different videos and such. And so she's going to be encountering it through the frame of what she hears. And when she watches videos on, like, well, this is what a judger is, this is what a perceiver is, partially because she's not intuitive, perhaps, she's going to take it at fairly face value. But regardless, she's seeking out information that clarifies the matter for her. And ultimately, I gave her some alternative, you know, understandings of those things that hopefully helped her. But let me get on to 100 miles. The LJ's comment, I don't want someone who's NE first as my dentist. Me neither. As an ENTP dentist is the least appealing career option for me. It sounds unappealing to me too. Although I could imagine worse, I guess. Curtis got typed as an ENFJ. Jake Hurwitz, what are ISTPs called? Why are ISTPs called the craftsman? Wouldn't SITE be better for that? SITE is ISTJ. I don't call ISTPs the craftsman. I would call ISTJs craftsmen. I would call ISTPs they're like stay the course guys. They arrive at their plan and they follow through on that course the whole way through to the end. It's not like ISTJs who find upon a craft which they master and then they repeat over and over again. So yeah. Nobody wants to think they're judging, which is a stupid placeholder for an extroverted deciding function. Well, I mean, I think that her explanation for not identifying very much as a judger was that she felt like she preferred flexibility basically over certainty. And I thought that was a reasonable reason to think you might be a perceiver, but she just had it. Socionics has it right, and Myers-Briggs got it backwards. People type Steve Jobs ISTP all the time. Do you agree? Possibly. It's not out of the question. I mean, you might think he's more ideational than ISTP, but I would say he's not really very ideational. He's about NI. I would agree that he seems to be somebody who's NI hidden agenda, perhaps. So it's possible. INTJ, INTP coffee typed you ENTJ, Amber? You're not an ENTJ. Who would type you ENTJ? On what grounds would they type you ENTJ? INTJ, INFP. I'll get to your question in a second, 100 Mile Media. Nobody in their right mind would mistake you for an INTJ. INFP is at least a little bit more plausible in the mistake, perhaps, if you don't know anything about cognitive functions. But you're obviously FE, not FI, and I mean, you're so NIFE, I don't even know what to do with myself, you know? You're about as NIFE as they get. You do little time magic shit, you know? It said that my conclusions were said with too much conviction. I mean, INFPs don't answer with conviction. INFPs can't answer anything. I feel like anyone hanging out in the chat is probably not ENTJ. There might be some ENTJs in here, provided they felt as though they were learning something. I think ENTJs don't spend a lot of time doing stuff that doesn't teach them something or benefit them in some way. So on that grounds, I guess it depends how beneficial you think this is. Okay, so on to your question. How would you delineate between an ENFP and an overly emotional ENTP? It still should be easy. When I'm emotional, I'm still logical. Same with Delilah. She can be crying and at the same time making logical arguments. You know, like, but you said blah, 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 and that contradicts with this other thing over here and blah, 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 right? So in that regard, the emotion shouldn't really blur the lines too much. The challenge with ENFPs and ENTPs and distinguishing them is if they're doing something that's just a creative activity that doesn't involve ideational parsing. Because if they're just both collaborating or cooperating to make up a story on the fly, let's say, they can be very similar and difficult to tell apart. Yeah, I struggled with that one a bit. Shut your face, I'm offended, says Brenda Lee. Yes, kid. ENFJs are likely more narcissistic than sociopathic. That's not much better, apparently. What makes NI evident? Well, I mean, just the way you play every interaction with me. You hold your cards close to your vest, and when you do play cards, you play them with probably force. It doesn't come out of your mouth randomly, probably. It's difficult to know exactly how much, what's it called?
Are you a little slow today?
Maybe it's this way. I don't know. I forget the word. It's like foresight, but it's like how much
Forethought?
Yeah. How much forethought or premeditation? How much premeditation there is to it? It's difficult to tell. Yeah. So
Yeah, what?
your cards are, she says her cards are very close to her chest. Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, the thing is, to me, everything about you screams NIFE. I feel as though you're managing all the social implications of everything very attentively, which makes me attend to it more as well in general. And that, makes me curious about things and wonder about things and intuit things that may or may not be there. You and I probably have long communications with just subtext that neither of us is really sure means what what the subtext might mean, you know. It's like that kind of shit. It's just a certain manner of highly metaphysical communication that is afforded, I think, really two types primarily, and that's ENTP and INFJ. However, I would say that there's equivalent intuitive leaps that various types make, including sensors, that could be categorized within the general word intuition, which is the topic here, and is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. Is I see Kimberly being extremely intuitive in moments all the time, right? She'll have intuitive grasp of something that I won't pick up on at all. Usually something that's visible in the sensory realm that just sort of escapes my notice. So, you know, she'll pick up on people's moods. Ooh, that guy's mad at that lady or whatever. And other times just see things I just won't see and note things that are of significance that would have escaped my notice for sure. In a way, that's a form of intuition. It's an acknowledgement of what in the sensory realm is significant to overall meanings that me as an intuitive acting type, especially, because it's the difference when you're an intuitive knower and when you're an intuitive actor. When you're an intuitive actor, when you're an intuitive knower, you're waiting kind of for the right moment, the right answer, the right whatever. And if you're practiced and I guess attentive to how your knowing function plays, it provides you enough of an NI answer that you've always got something when you need it, more or less. After all, it's any ignoring. It's not any blind or anything like that. Any produces when you need it to. You just don't quite think about it. So let's see. 100 Mile Media says obnoxious SE is evil, and I enjoy arguing with ESTPs and proving them wrong. I used to kind of have the same approach. I've gotten more ESTP friendly. Are all types insecure about their 8th slot function, or is it only the case when one is damaged? Like, are there ENTPs who don't think obnoxious SE is evil?
Eric.
No, I do. I think it's probably true for all of them. I think it's going to somewhat have to do with the aspect, though. So I guess the aspect's always the opposite no matter what. Yeah. The aspect's opposite no matter what. So that's the thing. You're going to always conflict with your 8th slot function on aspect. So yes, I believe in action, but the kind of action I believe is metaphysical action, which often is going to run afoul of physical action, which tends to put an end to metaphysical action. When you start doing shit, you stop talking about it. So in that regard, I'm going to not like SE when it conflicts with any, and I'm going to really not understand its own value matrix within SE. I'm going to think of it in terms of just something that's there to serve my extroverted intuition. SE is there to make it possible for me to have other people hear me make ideas.
It's mixed with pee.
That's not orange juice. That's grapefruit juice.
I kid.
Simply grapefruit. It's made out of nothing but simply grapefruits. No complicated grapefruits either.
All natural.
It's simply simple grapefruits.
Grapefruit is salt.
This stuff is the bomb. You're right. Grapefruit juice is God's own nectar. So, what is obnoxious SE? Well, obnoxious SE is anything that is, in my mind, it's sort of like callously pushing ahead against other people's objections and words to the contrary. So, and or callously pushing ahead in ways where you have technical okay, but people get hurt in the process. You know, so a an SE dom might be very effective at slaying the puss. He might end up, being so effective at it that he breaks up a relationship that was actually a good relationship, and the chick was vulnerable to it, but he ought not have. That would be an example of what I would call it, like evil SE. Well, I can legitimize this with my TI. In other words, I can't be accused of technically doing anything wrong here. This is consensual. She's not that drunk, whatever. And that she has a boyfriend, well, if it were really a good relationship, then she wouldn't cheat on him. It's easy enough to make those kind of justifications, so it's plausible for somebody to do something like that, right? That would be an example of evil SE that would occur in the common everyday world that I would point to. For me, it feels very deeply offensive, but that's just me. Sheila W says, for me, intuition is exhausting because I feel like I know so many outcomes, but I can't really tell people what I think because I have no facts to back it up. They just have to play out. Well, I guess it's a matter of if you want to win the argument or not. You probably have you could probably come up with various justifications to support your position, but they may not win the argument. So is that a reason to not make the argument? Well, remember, it may actually end up winning the argument. There are a lot of people who don't know how to respond to much of anything. So ENFJs are going to like TE, but only in regards to the effectiveness and efficiency of their social interfacing. Right. Well, it would serve their FE. TE serves their FE by rendering them competent in the eyes of others. And the thing is, the only reason you have to use TE to do that is because it's the only area in which you're going to actually be competent, so you don't have to fake it. In other words, in order to successfully fake it, you've got to be able to have some legitimate competency, and that's going to be in the how to do area, not in the logical consistency area. Like, my competency is in logical consistency, but I don't actually know how to do anything except that. So I'm lucky I have a job where being able to do the logical consistency thing with the ideation thing is actually an effective job skill because I'm a debate coach. But in general, in a way, it generalizes less well for being more general, What type would be more aware of the social spectrum? Someone with TE or someone with TI? TI for sure, no matter where it is, because front stack's always more aware than back stack. So even if it were a strong back stack slot, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be more aware of anything on the front stack. You're going to understand what it is at least. And you're probably not going to really understand what it is if it's not. I should say future outcomes. Yeah, well, you can make the predictions and then let people see that you were right. And then, if you were right. Do you think most rapists are ESTPs? Probably not. I would guess. I would guess that they're probably at the end of many regretted liaisons. They're at one end of many regretted liaisons. But I don't think that they're probably rapists because they're too opportunistic in the sense that, rape is either an expression of anger towards women or like hatred of women, or it's an expression of I don't know, something else. I would expect that an ESTP wouldn't be less likely. It would probably be some kind of, twisted STJ or something. Just a thought. I have no idea. I don't mean to slander STJs in that fashion. Basically, I think ESTPs have no problem. They don't have sexual rage. how would FI serve TI? Well, FI serves TI by being the other deliberative function. So if you want to really have a complete calculus of things, you have both an understanding of the disinterested calculus and at least some functionality of the interested calculus that serves that disinterested calculus. And that's what INTPs have. They've got 8-slot FI serving the TI. And that means that they say, okay, well, I need to make disinterested calculi, but I need to know where to make disinterested calculi. And so I need to frame the world through my FI so I have directionality towards my disinterested calculi. In other words, I need to have an interested application of disinterested calculi in order to be a fully deliberative individual. And as a deliberation DOM, that's what an INTP is. There need to be multiple people have told me I should follow multiple different career options, all completely different. I assume that's pretty common among ENTPs. I would say that most of those career options are probably not good. So I would say good career option. Teaching is not a bad career option. If you get, it's probably a little low ceiling for your taste, but it's not a bad career option. Debate coaching is a very good career option for an ENTP if they can apply themselves to learn the field a bit and become effective at it. They won't regret going into the field because it's got everything you want as an ENTP. It's zero-sum competition that tests intellectual creativity and logical consistency parsing and de-emphasizes the third slot stuff, but through which if you're successful as a coach or as a competitor, but as a coach, presumably, that you get good FE for yourself. Speech therapy. I mean, it's a fine enough career. You're going to find it soul deadening probably because it depends on what sort of population you work with, but chances are you'll end up working with a population whose speech therapy, needs for speech therapy are resulting from their cognitive deficiencies rather than from a mouth thing. I will say that when I was a little kid, I had speech therapy provided for me by the public schools to fix my R's and my THs because I lisped and I said my R's like, I want to travel the whole world. And I'm very grateful that the school interceded and fixed my speech. And the speech teacher, I remember going to speech therapy, being pulled out of class, going there. And but very helpful. I'm very grateful they did that. However, having said that, most speech therapy is not going, most of the jobs in speech therapy are not going to be for such students as myself, who actually is going to benefit and you're going to see some sort of outcome. Most of it's going to be in special ed, and you're not really going to be able to fix anything. Was bombing Japan in World War II obnoxious SC? It's an interesting question. I mean, was it a necessary act to nuke them? It certainly seemed so at the time, I think. You could certainly make the argument that it was going to save a lot of American lives, and that's what the president is responsible to do there in that circumstance. It certainly did save a lot of American lives. Did that justify it? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't call it SC obnoxiousness. I would call it probably justified, or possibly at least. ESPs, in my experience, are good at navigating toward the most viable option in physical relationships. They're charming, and if you don't show interest, they just shift focus elsewhere. I see. So, yeah, that'd be consistent kind of with what I think I was saying about them. Is I don't think of them as being rapisty because they're too opportunistically deft. That's a good notation there, Amber. NE equals innovation, NI equals efficiency. Would you agree with that reduction? No. NE equals innovation, Ni equals distillation. Jake, when was this us bombing Japan? Oh, it was a couple days ago. When we said, hey, did that Hiroshima and Nagasaki grow up back up again? We gotta knock them over. We gotta knock them back over again. Angentier, inconvenience is in any for is just of other. What issues arise from polar SI other than thinking you are types that you are not? Lol. Well, you don't sleep enough, and you go, and you don't understand things in particulars, and you tend not to give examples, concrete examples of when talking about shit that happens. Instead, you give resolutions of it. Ryan, yo, what up, host Eric? Hope you're enjoying this fine Fuggins Friday. I'm enjoying it pretty well. It's rainy. It's a little chilly in here in the garage, but yeah, I'm enjoying it pretty well. Just think about it. Hello. I did speech therapy for my SS. I would say Thela. Oh, for your S's. Yeah, that's kind of important when your name's Sheila. Angentier. I can see things happening, but I have trouble incorporating it. Tim Bulware. What type is most likely to try and torture an ENTP? ESTP. Probably. I would say for sure. I say ESTP is the ENTP is the most threatening type to ESTP and vice versa. We both respect the ability of the other type to deliver blows as needed. In both, ESTP can do it in both physical, but they are successful in the metaphysical realm too, So I think that ESTPs and ENTPs are cautious around one another. It's very FE calculus, Curtis 96. Intuitive merely take a backseat in the sensory world. Well, I guess it would depend what you mean by taking a backseat. There have been lots of intuitives and sensors who have led in various capacities in various fields. There have been lots of intuitives and sensors who have innovated in various capacities in various fields. Lots of intuitives and sensors who have made intuitive leaps. Just because you're a sensor doesn't mean you don't have intuition. And third slot NI, for example, and an ISFP and ISTP can potentially make great intuitive distillations of things that resolve very well. It probably just resolved very well for their life, not so much in a universalizable sense as NI normally would because of their SE tool function. Regardless, fourth slot SE users are messy, while fourth slot SI users are more clumsy. Would you agree? I'm both messy and clumsy, Doug Opek. I'm both. So I would say that fourth slot SI users are maybe more likely to clean up periodically, so they're a little bit less messy than the fourth slot SE users, maybe. But I could have that backwards. I don't know. They're both bad at both, probably. I'm not sure. I know I'm clumsy, and I'm obviously not SE conscious. I run into things. I do shit like that, and I'm also messy. Distillation and efficiency are in the same vein. No, that's only if you have TE high up somewhere in your values. If you have an absolute value in your third slot of TE, for example, if you were an ISFP, then that would make sense that you would think that, of course, distillation and efficiency are in the same vein. They don't necessarily have to be at all. One can, you might say that to distill something is the efficient course, but it's only the efficient course if within that thing that one distills from is the necessary essence that one needs to distill. So you could distill the wrong essence of a thing and have it not be effective, or lots of other things. So efficiency and distillation don't necessarily go hand in hand. I can distill things down for artistic purposes that are inefficient but effective, if you know what I'm saying. So you consider SI as paying attention to one's needs because it goes by experience, and one's experience is important to pay attention to those types of things. I think indeed that people over time with their SI learn what really matters. It takes one bad experience on a boat with seasickness, if you're an SI type, and you're probably not going to want to go on a boat anymore. And it takes, equivalently one bad experience or two with a person, for example, before an SI person, Dom, is going to go, okay, I don't want to see this person anymore. Now, granted, if they can stick it out for a while, like, I made a few bad